they were fired on indiscriminately by the army, while it has a vested interest to protect the terrorists and not the real victim of terrorism. I think it is fitting for the global community, the sane community, to defund and dismantle this organization. No one knows when they will be targeted. It has a vested interest. They cannot be trusted by the minority. Hindus and other minorities have become a soft target of medieval Islamic barbarism once again in Bangladesh. Marginalized in the society, deprived of equal opportunities, and of course underrepresented in almost all economic ventures, remaining poverty-stricken is perhaps their only fateful destiny. Despite these challenges, there were very few who actually got educated and secured a job. However, in the name of student revolution, many of these dedicated teachers and other officials have been forced to resign recently. What was extremely disturbing to watch was that many of these teachers have been physically assaulted. In one particular case, it was a pregnant woman who was paraded along the street after her resignation as her own students were shouting in fervor because she resigned. In another case, it was a female teacher who was made to wear shoe garland as she was escorted out of her office. These students didn't think twice to throw a punch on the face of their former mentors. They didn't think twice to shout in fervor with uproarious zeal as their teachers had to face the most embarrassing, the most humiliating moments of their life. It only shows how fractured the whole community is, how precarious the situation is for the Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh right now. This traversal of the role only paints a picture of a fractured community, only paints a picture where the very ideal of education, respect, have been completely shattered. Revolution or retrogression? Well, Hindu hate is now normalized. Right after the ouster of the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, a new interim government took to the power, and it was headed by a Nobel Peace Laureate, Dr. Muhammad Yunus. However, right after his ascension, the real message of peace, that is Hindu pogrom, is now being faithfully delivered all across the country. Under the watch of these Puja of Bengali Hindus, not a single day passes by without a Hindu being murdered somewhere in the country. Their women and children being abducted and raped and murdered, or at the very least forcefully converted to Islam. Their houses being looted, set on fire, temples vandalized, idols smashed. Not a single day passes by without these atrocities being committed somewhere in the country. Just recently, a woman was raped at gunpoint, a mother of two. The miscreant, Islamic extremist, forcefully entered into the house and raped her at gunpoint. Hindu men are being lured and secretly murdered, as it happened for a 25-year-old man who happened to be husband of a pregnant woman of 4 months. In one case, a woman was raped, and after the rape, she was hacked to death. And after this brutal rape and murder, her body was thrown into the well. This is the daily life of the Hindus in Bangladesh right now as I speak. Leaflets are being distributed across the devotees in temples that if they organize the celebration, the Puja celebration, Durga Puja, the biggest celebration for the Hindus. If they participate in this celebration, they will have to pay extortion money of some 500,000 or be faced with death. They are being ultimatum to leave the country within 7 days. They are being threatened in public that they will be swallowed. Hindus will be swallowed. Some of these people are chanting on the street that like for the last 800 years, Hindus are going to be subjugated in Bharat, in India. As it happened in the past for some 800 years, they will once again be subjugated. I wonder, where is democracy today? Where is the moral outrage of the Human Rights Brigade? You know what is the most disturbing thing amid all of this chaos, amid all of this nonsense? The complete silence of the Secretary General of the United Nations, who made some very controversial and even anti-Semitic comments right after Israel's war in Gaza against Hamas. Even when another despicable terrorist organization, Hezbollah, was targeted by a very sophisticated and precise operation by IDF, he took to the Twitter and told the whole world immediately that he was alarmed at the death and other injuries of those savages, the terrorists of Hezbollah. However, when completely innocent civilians were being lynched in Bangladesh in hundreds, completely innocent civilians who got nothing to do with religion or politics, who never instigated a terrorist attack against the Muslims in Bangladesh, yet being hunted down and massacred in hundreds, lynched in many cases. It didn't appeal to his conscience, not even once, to condemn these atrocities, not even once. It only shows his double standard. It only confirms how deranged this individual is. I think it is fitting for the global community, the sane community, to dismantle this organization, to defund and dismantle this charade of an organization that claims to promote, that claims to uphold human rights, that claims to promote, that claims to uphold the sacred values of humanity, the values of human rights, while in essence it has a vested interest of protecting the terrorists and not the real victim of terrorism. Hindus and other minorities are living in fear. No one knows when they will be targeted next. And you know how they are being targeted? These savages will make slanderous comment. They will make fun of the gods and goddesses of the Hindus. They will make fun of the gods and goddesses of the Hindus to one of these victims. And when that victim, that Hindu, will reply, when that Hindu will respond, guess what will happen? A mob would be conveniently gathered and that Hindu boy would be lynched because he made a blasphemous comment against their prophet. A 15-year-old boy was severely beaten, narrowly escaping his death, losing an eye, as he was mercilessly beaten by these savages, 300 of them, against a 15-year-old boy. And that was also in front of the police and the military. Not a single bullet was fired to deter those savages. Not a single bullet was fired. However, the same military was seen firing indiscriminately on the tribal population when these savages attacked that particular community. Their houses were set on fire, their temple being vandalized, their men, women and children were indiscriminately harassed. And when that community pushed back, the military jumped into action and fired on this community indiscriminately. A coconut seller was killed. A coconut seller. These are not rich people. The people that are living in those areas, they are not rich people. They are barely scraping by. And they're being fired on indiscriminately by the police and the military. This is the life of the Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh as I speak. It is no surprise that these police and the military, the authorities, are complacent, fully complacent in the atrocities that are being carried out against these minorities in Bangladesh. Because they also share the same religion. Birds of feather flock together, don't they? These police and the military, they are the wolves in sheep's clothing. They cannot be trusted by the minority in Bangladesh, nor the so-called moderate majority Muslims either. Just a few days ago, after a temple was vandalized, a mentally challenged Hindu man was staged as the perpetrator of this vandalism. Mentally challenged. And these so-called moderates jumped onto the social media and circulated that this mentally challenged Hindu man was an agent of the RAW, no less, the Indian intelligence agency. While this drama went on, the real perpetrator remained at large. Just to give you another example, there was a flood recently happening in Bangladesh, and the relief material that was intended to be distributed by the military had been diverted from only those communities that were identified as majority Hindu. Only the Hindu communities have been deprived of the relief material because they were Hindus, and this material was distributed by the military. And you know what happened? The moderates came to distribute relief material in some other Hindu communities. And as they distributed relief material, they were giving sermons that the Hindus have to take off their insignia, their religious insignia, whether it's a locket or some pendant that identifies themselves as Hindus. Those items have been removed from their body as the so-called moderates distributed the relief material to these Hindus. So I think the picture is very clear at this point. Bangladesh will be Hindu free very soon, and that is under the watch of the United Nations, an organization that claims to uphold minority rights, to uphold the values of human rights. And as the human rights of these Hindus are being stripped off, are being taken away every single day, these organizations are nowhere to be found. This is the condition of minority rights in so-called secular Bangladesh today. Thank you for listening. I'll catch up with you on the next one. Bye for now.